Honor, hi. I'm Amy
Hey,
with Alt 99.7 here in Columbia. So excited to talk to
thanks,
you
mate.
today. And let's start first. You're in Scotland, so you're a little bit ahead of us. It's late afternoon there.
Yeah, just coming into evening. So yeah, I'm kind of windswept and interesting, as you can tell. I just got caught in a very typically Scottish rainstorm. So yeah, apologies for that. But
I have one of my best friends is from England by the Blackpool area, so I've heard tales about the weather nonstop.
yeah, you get used to it, I think. I mean, yes, I'm saying that every single year. It's dark now where I am. It's like it gets dark about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and every single year people are like, God, it's really dark. Like it catches us by surprise every year, even though it happens at exactly the same time. So, but yeah, I guess you kind of get used to it. But it's actually been nice being here. I live in a very sort of rural location, so during all of this sort of nonsense and everything, it's been quite nice to be out of the way a little bit.
Do you find that your mood is affected by the weather, or because you grew up there, that if it's a few gray days or a few gray weeks, that you're not bothered by that?
It's so funny you're saying that because I had this conversation literally this morning. I feel everybody's mood in this country is really affected by the weather. I feel there's like a couple of days around this time every year where just everyone's sort of attitude sort of dips a little bit, because it's just the realization that you've got sort of 4 months of this coming up, you know. And the summers are amazing, you know, when you can sit outside till like 11 p.m. and stuff. It's lovely. It's great for the 3 weeks a year when it doesn't rain. But uh, but yeah, it can get a little grim sometimes.
That's February for me here. I go into my February depression and I look like Post Malone all the time without the tip of the tattoos. And I watch BoJack on Netflix on repeat. I don't know if you've seen that show.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to spend February. I don't have a problem with that.
All right, so let's get to know you a little bit. Robert Shields, your honor, ONR. Why honor as the name of your you as an artist, and why ONR?
Yeah, so I've been kicking around in a bunch of sort of like band jams and sort of indie kid projects for years, sort of touring and things. And it really kind of helped me. It really kind of helped me discover sort of what I wanted to do musically and everything. But when I set up as a solo performer and as a producer as well, I really wanted something that was very definitely not that as well. Um, so I looked at a couple of options, but I thought Honor was good because I wanted something that sort of, I don't know, had a sort of class and dignity to it compared to what I'd done before, you know. And the spelling was simply just to make it a little different. So it's yeah, it's been good. I must admit, it's like I say, it's been a bit of a whirlwind last few years, sort of putting it together and just putting out baby tracks and seeing how much it's grown. But it's been amazing.
So we're huge fans of the song "Must Up." Happy to have that on the air here at Alt. But I wanted to talk a little bit about if we're going way back to the very beginning. I've heard and read the term rural isolation a few times, and that kind of describes how you grew up. But it's what led you to your musical curiosity and finding that talent. Do you find that you still require kind of more of are you more introverted because of that? Do you require that sort of isolation in order to create, or has it led you into the opposite?
Uh, yeah, absolutely. It's the isolation is something that I find healing, to be honest with you. Almost frustratingly because I feel like I don't know, I've never really been part of a scene. And when I was younger, it was a real frustration because I was trying to get into music and I was trying, you know, I was finding out about new acts like Interpol and sort of much more interesting bands that I really wanted to emulate, but I couldn't find musicians who were similarly like that in my community and things. So it was really frustrating, but as you say, I think ironically it's turned out to be a little bit of a blessing in terms of I think my writing style is reasonably unique in the way that I write and the way that I put songs together is quite different, I think, compared to people who have been in amongst other producers and other writers. So it's a little bit of a blessing and a curse, but I would say that I still much prefer, as you can see, just sitting in a room myself with a piano uh, to create music. It just feels much more natural, and I have time to think about what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to put across. And some people are very different, but it just seems to work for me.
Your parents were very supportive of your musical aspirations growing up, and you credit a number of artists to your, like, I guess, artists and writing inspiration: David Bowie, Bruce Springsteen. And who would be an artist that alive today? Because we lost Bowie in 2016, but so who would be an artist, even though he's your favorite, that you would love to hit the stage with today, or sit down and write and have a writing session with today?
I think to do sort of both sides, I think Kate Bush was a massive influence of mine as well. I think she's one of the greatest songwriters and lyricists ever, and such an interesting, again, quite introverted character. I think she would be fascinating to meet and talk to and create stuff with. I think from a more contemporary world, I'm really fascinated by Billie Eilish. I think she's probably the most interesting new artist of the last sort of 5-6 years. I think she is incredible. I think she'd be amazing to work with.
Is that something that you have in the works potentially? Is that like a teaser? Is this what's it called?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Me and Billy are tight. We're making it happen. It would be amazing. I would love it. But I've got a little bit of work to do, I think, before I get to that stage. But yeah.
As you've kind of found your own rhythm into becoming the artist that you are, you've received some really great accolades. You had won a writing competition. It was judged by Coldplay's Chris Martin. When that happens, what's your mindset? Are you like, holy shit, Chris Martin loves me, like this is so much pressure? Or was it kind of like, I knew I was great and this just confirmed it?
No, very much the former. I won it like straight out of school, so it was the first thing that I'd ever experienced where someone had said, "No, you're good at this. Like this is legit." Because up to that point it was just me and my mum and dad. And you have no idea whether you're talented or able or capable, or whether people just like you. So it was the first time I felt a little bit vindicated in doing what I was doing, which was a massive thing for me. And it also led to, I met my manager through that competition, and it opened a lot of doors for me. But I guess it's one of those things, like I don't really think about it that much now, because the doors that have opened have led to other subsequent doors, and I guess that's just how life works for everybody. But yeah, certainly it was amazing. I was a huge Coldplay fan as a kid as well, so yeah, it meant a lot.
If people come see you live, I've read that you have a full band, but you do all of the instruments and production by yourself. As somebody who, I love music, it's my biggest passion. I cannot contribute anything to it. I can't sing, I can't play instruments. And I tried, I bought a guitar, I took lessons, but it was super mechanical. So to be able to play any instrument, I imagine that that's like something you could hear and something you can kind of visualize internally and then externalize it. What is that like? Just if you could describe that to people who, like me, who don't have that talent. Is it something like, do you hear it and then put it down, or do you see it? What's that process like?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I when people ask me to what instruments they should start playing or getting into, I always think piano is the best one to start with, because everything is in front of you. With a guitar, you have fingers are in different positions and you have different shapes and different sort of things. Whereas a piano, it's all there. If you're a 3-year-old kid and you put your hands on a piano, it will make noise, and if you move them up and down, it will correspond to that. It's a very understandable instrument, and I started playing super young, so I think that really helped me in terms of understanding theory, which I didn't know was theory at the time. It was just sort of learned, sort of knowledge. But I guess it's probably similar to just like speaking a foreign language, where, it's very natural. There's not a process of translation if you know the language well enough. It's just, you just understand what's being said. And I feel it's a bit like that as well. When you're hearing chord progressions or modulations or interesting structural techniques, you're not consciously aware of them all the time, but you understand what's going on. I guess that's probably the best way to phrase it, if that makes any sense.
It does. And you initially weren't into production. So you start creating music, you have things that are, getting album ready and radio ready, and you decide to learn the producer side of it. As somebody is it easier to just handle it yourself, and then do you find that you are too hands-on sometimes, or like how do you know when to release music? Are you a perfectionist?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, the production thing, I guess, for me was a bit of a means to an end. You know,
Okay.
I was writing music, and I've always been into arranging and things, but I'd never really found a process that suited what I was trying to do, and everything sounded not quite how I wanted it to sound. So I found myself doing production just because I wanted it to sound a certain way, and also again, I feel like what I'm trying to do is a little bit different. And what would happen is I would take things into a studio production environment, and inevitably they would start sounding more like the things that were already within that environment, which wasn't really what I wanted. So I started getting into production, and I absolutely love it. And I see it now as a further arm of songwriting as well. I don't see the two things as entirely that separate to each other. And I like doing the two side by side. I like writing as I'm producing songs and vice versa. It can become quite a long, drawn out process, which is why I like working in isolation, because I think anybody working with me would hate that. But yeah, I really do love it, and it's something I'm starting to produce and write for other artists now as well, which is something I've really enjoyed doing. I produced the track with Nile Rodgers on it, which was just an incredible experience, you know, to work with Nile Rodgers guitars. I was terrified of touching them, you know, I didn't want to do anything to them at all. So yeah, it's been a steep learning curve, but I've really loved every second. I really have. It's meant the world.
Do you listen to other artists do you listen to music at all when you're creating, or do you have, because I've heard comedians say, like they won't watch other stand-up specials because they don't want that kind of infiltrating theirs. Is that the same process for you, or do you also get inspiration from hearing other artists like Kate Bush or?
Yeah, no, I always get inspiration from other artists, definitely. And in fact, you would think I would have learned by now, but the times when I'm least inspired is usually when I'm not listening to that much new, interesting music. I notice when I'm in it, especially when I'm touring or when I'm doing festivals, or when I'm seeing a lot of our other artists play and meeting them and being within that world. You can't help but become more inspired by that. Sometimes a little too inspired when you listen back to stuff and you're like, oh, that is that song. But yeah, definitely, it's something that I love doing, and discovering new artists, particularly from like my part of the world and things as well, helping young artists to kind of find out what they want to do and stuff as well. That stuff's important to me as well.
And you're going to perform for us, but I have just one last question. From start to where you are now, from where you started to where you are now, where do you think your biggest area of growth has been, or have you done or learned something that you were like, oh, wow, it kind of was life-changing?
I think the biggest change for me as an artist, and I think it was around the birth of ONR, was I just started to write music that I wanted to listen to, and it sounds like the most sort of obvious piece of advice to give someone, but to that point, I was writing music that I thought people would like, that I thought people would want to listen to or dance to, or that might make Spotify playlists or whatever. And actually, the second that I started writing music that just I liked, actually, what spurred it was listening to The Suburbs by Arcade Fire. I just loved that record so much, and I had an old van, and it was the only CD that was in the van, so I used to play it constantly. And I just thought it was just a masterful, incredible, piece of work. And I thought, God, they must have had so much fun and so much fulfillment creating something like that. And really from then on, once I started thinking about my own music like that, it really just changed things for me almost immediately. And I try to remember that. It's quite hard sometimes, particularly when, you have people waiting for music to come out. There's an expectancy, and, you kind of work under that pressure a little bit as well. But I really try and remember that first and foremost, if I write music that I like, then hopefully other people will just like it via osmosis.
Well, we're in a world right now where everybody's competing for attention. So I can relate to that, because even from like the on-air standpoint, if I'm doing a show, a radio show or on-air content that I'm just trying to get other people to like it, it comes off as being inauthentic. And really, when I'm in there talking about things I want to talk about or telling jokes that make myself laugh because I'm in there by myself, you know,
Yeah.
you attract more people that way just because they can. I feel like they can feel the authenticity just being, you know, naturally there.
Totally, I totally agree, and I think to your point, you're totally right. Particularly nowadays, because everyone is so inauthentic. You know, it's become so normal, so everyday, just to throw very inauthentic things out on the internet, and you know, and the people who, for good or bad, are the most notable people in society today are usually people who just say what they think, that is at the front of their brain all the time. You know, and there's not a lot of consideration behind it. So I've tried to write a little bit more like that, and let it be a little more natural. So yeah, we'll see if it works.
Well, we're excited. You're going to perform a couple songs for us. We're going to start with Must Stop. So I'm going to see myself out of here and let you take over the screen, okay?
All right, great. Thank you. Okay. Stephanie, I know you read, but never reply. Regrettably, I have to run and cut my ties, 'cause I must stop falling in love, stop falling in love with every girl who fucks me. I must stop falling in love, stop falling in love with every girl who fucks me up. Timothy, classy conversation based on what a shit you've been. Sit with me, I'll believe and you'll believe, and I must stop falling in love, stop falling in love with every boy who fucks me. I must stop falling in love, stop falling in love with every boy who fucks me up. For 7 years I had the same old dream. My teeth fall out, I looked it up. Apparently, yeah, it's a sign I'm growing up, and so I must stop falling in love, stop falling in love with everyone who fucks me up. I'll stop falling in love, stop falling in love with everyone who fucks me up. Who fucks me up. It's almost worth it. Thank you.
Dude, that's amazing.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I'm so excited to have you. So your full-length album comes out early spring 2021, right?
Yeah.
What do you want people to know about the album?
I guess I don't know. When I think about the records that influenced me and the albums that had a big impact on my life, I guess if it means something to people, if the lyrics speak to them, there's a huge theme of sort of self-deprecation and inferiority and all the sort of Instagram generation and stuff that we spoke about, you know. And I hope that, you know, if people listen to it and it rings a bell with them, it resonates with them, and they get a bit of sort of, not even confidence, but just a bit of solidarity, I think, then that would mean a lot.
And then you're going to perform I relate to the self-deprecation on a sadly high level. So
It's my entire life is one big self-deprecation.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to perform one more song for us, Crash Landing, I was told.
Yeah, if that's cool. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, perfect. I'm going to hop out again.
Cool. All right. Yeah, this song is called Crash Landing. You sit at the window for the view. I'll just spend the whole time watching you. All the little games that we play through. Honey, I'll be red. You were always the blue. I'm coming down, crash landing now. Go get dressed, I'll figure it out. Holy shit, when did it get so rough? Stars in my eyes, sentimental science, big cash prize. And God, I want a dog, but the time's never right. Yeah, we can play, but we have to be real quiet. I'm coming down, crash landing now. Don't get stressed, I'll figure it out. Holy shit, when did it get so rough? Oh, holy shit, when did it get so rough? You sit at the window for the view. I'll just spend the whole time watching you. Oh, holy shit, when did it get so rough?
What's that like to just have talent that you can pull out like that?
Thank you very much for the misspent childhood. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed getting to know you and hearing about your process. We're so looking forward to the album out early next year, and we're so geeked to have Must Stop Now here on Alt 99.7 in Columbia. So thank you from across the sea. We really appreciate your time today, Honor.
Oh, no, listen, thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. Thank you, Amy. Nice speaking to you.
For sure. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys. See you soon.